Ready?
All right. Let's kick it off, yeah?
Yep.
Hey guys, my name is Fletcher. Welcome to the Do It Once, Do It Right Alpha Smile 5 webinar. This is the second webinar in the series from us here at Solar Group. To those of you who are returning viewers, welcome back. And to the new people, thanks for joining us. And we would encourage you to check out our first webinar for the B3 retrofit system. Okay, guys, my role here at Solar Group as a sales engineer is to assist our resellers, such as yourselves, with quotes, queries, anything you guys need, anything technical. Today with me, I have Nikita.
Hi, guys.
He's our technical manager, and he'll be here to assist with questions and answers. And Roy mentioned before that there is a question and answer tab, and we encourage you to ask questions. And I have in the showroom with me, I have Roy Metzer.
Hello.
And he will be actually highlighting the Smile 5 unit and demonstrating it. So once again, thanks very much for showing up, guys. This is going to be recorded. We are recording it now. So if you would like to watch this again in your own time and review it for technical information, we will send around a feedback form at the end of the webinar. Just let us know that you'd like a recording and we can get one out to you. I know it's late in the afternoon and late in the day, guys, so we'll keep this short and sweet, around the 35 to 40-minute mark. And once again, during the webinar, we encourage your questions, so let us know down the Q&A tab, and we'll jump right in, guys. Okay? So as I said, guys, this is the second in the series, okay? Just to quickly review what we covered in the first one, guys. We covered the safety of the B3 battery, or all the alpha batteries, the chemistry of the lithium iron phosphate. We cover the cost effectiveness of these systems, the fact that all of Alpha's units are wall mountable, and they come as UPS, which is an uninterrupted power supply. So they continue to work during a power outage. The durability of the products, guys. Alpha offers an 10-year degradation guarantee for the batteries, which guarantees 80% of the capacity after 10 years. The ease of install of the products, because they're all pre-wired and modular. The fact that these things are pre-wired and modular allows scalability. They've got a great monitoring system and remote support. And the fact that we offer quotes to you for free, and any design work you may need, help put in the panels, anything like that. And basically, we'd just like you to join us in such a growing industry, and it's extremely profitable. Guys, the reasons here are why Alpha has made #1 seller in all of Australasia. And for us as well at Solar Group, the Smile 5 is our top seller by miles. Great unit. All right, guys, let's have a look at why these units are so good. The first one I'm going to talk about, guys, is the flexibility. Okay, with the Smile 5 Island Inverter actually has 3 different battery options. We have on the left 2.9, 5.7, and 10.1. Okay, you can see all the dimensions and weights there, which actually indicate where to hang the inverter. All right, for the smaller batteries, they come in both IP65 and IP21, excuse me, which is water and dust resistance. The large 10.1 coming in June will be coming in IP65. So we will have a total of 5 battery options for you and your clients. Please note that the large 10.1 battery is the only one there that can supply 5 kilowatt backup with just 1 battery. The other 2 can do it, but you need 2 of each. Otherwise, a single 2.9 or a single 5.7 will only be able to back up 2.5 kilowatts, charge and discharge. The expandability of these systems, as I previously mentioned, guys, the systems are expandable even up to 2 years later. Okay, if people don't have the money or the budget to start with the battery, they can just start with a battery ready inverter, which you can program to battery ready mode when you commission the system. The only thing you'll need to remember with this is you cannot mix and match battery types. So these batteries are all in parallel, Therefore, they need to be of identical sizes. So if you start with a 2.9, you have to continue with 2.9. If you start with 5.7, you need to continue with the same size. The largest system you can have is 6 of the 10.1 kilowatt hour batteries to give you a max system storage of 60.6 kilowatt hours. Okay, this is why scalability is important, because you can start small and gradually build up. As I mentioned, this is an island inverter, which means it will continue to charge during a power outage. This is very important because there are not many products on the market that actually have this capability to continually charge once the grid is gone. One of the things I'd love to talk to you guys about is the AC coupling. This inverter can AC couple to other inverters or to wind turbines. So if a customer would like, say, 10 kilowatt worth of panels, that's no problem at all. You do need to keep in mind that the Smile 5 has a maximum capacity, though, of 6.6 kilowatts. So how do we get around this? Simply hybrid another inverter by installing a second meter, which measures the other inverter's production. The software of the Smile 5 takes into consideration the production of the other inverter when deciding on the ratio of charge and discharge of the batteries. The monitoring will show the production of the combined PV of both the AC coupled as well as the DC coupled. Over here, guys, we're looking at the smart auxiliary contact functions. Many customers ask us, can I charge my EV car? Can I turn on my heat pump? Can I turn on the hot water cylinder once my batteries are full? And the answer is yes, yes, and yes. Okay. Not only do you have auxiliary contacts, you've got 2 of them. As you can see here on the screen, your options are time and day based on and off. But the more interesting one here is the SOC, or the state of charge operation. Okay, the state of charge activation, what this means is, so you can decide that as soon as the batteries are full, you can activate something and it will remain active until the batteries drop down to a certain percent, roughly around, say, 80%. That's a very good function. Okay, I've mentioned previously about the monitoring and the technical interface. These units also have great monitoring capabilities, not just the B3, which is also a technical interface, but we did cover this quite in depth in the first webinar. So if you'd like to look at that more in depth, or you'd like to review that, please let us know on the feedback form, and we'll get a recording of the first webinar out to you. Value for money is also a great topic to discuss. When we are looking at what the customer is getting for their investment, we couldn't see many products that give you such great value for money. These products are robust, they're all in one, they're durable, and they won't cost you an arm and a leg when comparing to such things as, say, the Tesla. They're nowhere near as expensive. Finally, guys, we are dealing with an all-in-one, easy to install system that is pre-wired and modular, but I won't delve too far into that. I'll leave it to Roy to discuss with you in the showroom shortly. But just quickly, I believe we do have a question. So I'll pass it over to you, Nikita. Can you cover the question from Tony? Thank you.
Yep. So Tony asked, he's asking if we can further explain the difference between backup and capacity of the batteries.
Yeah, that topic is going to be covered at the end as well. So basically, backup capacity is if you have a pump, for example, that draws 1.5 kilowatt, then you can have a backup of 2.5 kilowatt and you're covered. But if you have 2 pumps and now you have 3 kilowatt, one battery of the smaller size can only give you 2.5 kilowatt. And if you're trying to draw 3 kilowatt, the system will shut down. So if you know that the draw of the backup is too high, you either go for 2 batteries or you limit your backup that you're allocating on the backup DIMM rail.
All right, awesome. Thank you very much, Roy. Alrighty, well, as I said, guys, I will pass you over to Roy in the showroom. Over to you, Roy. Thanks very much.
Hi guys. The installation of the Smile 5 has three parts. The first one is the brackets and the mounting of the unit. The second one is cabling, and the third one is connection to the meters, the internet, and the AUX. Starting with the brackets, when you open the box of the Smile 5, you're getting these two brackets, the top one and the middle one. If you're doing so already, all you have to do is install the top one. In all other occasions, you're going to need the middle one, and when you open the box of the battery, you will find these two brackets as well. So, as a preparation, the first thing to do is to carry the battery to the location of it, to assemble these two brackets, to assemble this bracket on top and this one on top. There are nuts here and screws, and then you can mark a line of where your inverter is going to sit. This will give you the perfect location, so the inverter and the batteries will line up nicely with the right gaps. Also remember that batteries must be suspended by the floor. With the exception of the 2.9 kilowatt hour battery, you can hang them. Otherwise, if it is on the floor, a lot of the weight is actually carried by the bracket from the back, and therefore the inverter is sitting at half of the weight at least is sitting on the brackets and suspended by the battery that is suspended by the floor, and therefore the fixings to the wall needs to go to nogs or something solid, but you don't have to go and overdo it. And if you want more information about exactly what fixings to use, you can open the menu and have a look there. So the setup of the Smile 5 is great because it's like a mall, you can't go wrong, and off you go. As far as the location, there are two restrictions. One of them is, like any other battery, you cannot put them in a livable area or restricted area, and if you put them outside, they should not be exposed to the sun or be under snow. So this is like any other battery. It should be, for example, in the garage. When it comes to the other restriction is, the Smile 5 is basically come with a meter, not city plans. This is a meter, and the meter must be hardwired to the main switchboard to measure the load of the house, either the switchboard or the meter. So for example, if you have an installation where the solar and the Smile 5 is in the garage, but the main switchboard is actually in the house, you need to consider what you're doing with this. When you come across this situation, the best thing is to give us a call, and we'll give you some solutions and advice to see how to resolve it. And I'm sure we can find a creative solution in any case. So we discussed the mounting. Now it's time to talk about the cabling. Big picture about the cabling. If I'm looking at the unit here, this is the middle cover. First thing to do is remove it. All the cabling are here on the left hand side. AC, DC, battery cabling. And all of the communication cables are inside here. Behind this panel, this is the battery switch. We will open this later and I'll show you the connections here as well. So pragmatically speaking, if you're doing a new house, everything should come from here. And then before the jib is closed, you make sure that everything is on the left hand side. As far as big picture with the battery, once again, we have connections to the battery both on the top and on the side. So you have more than just one option. So you have plus and minus on the side, and on the top plus and minus as well. And you have the communication cable to the battery on the left and the right. They are identical, it doesn't matter which one you use. I'll start with the connection of the battery to the Smile 5. As preparations, the first thing to do is to remove this cover. This is a protective cover. You remove that by opening the Allen screws. Take it away. You're taking the cables from the box of the battery, and you put the negative here. And as soon as I push it down, it will click. Now it's in, and I spread it to the left and the positive here. another click, and then I put back the protective cover. So that goes here. So these two leads are here on the left, which will be perfectly aligned with the inverter, and the connection of the battery of the inverter are also here on the left. So taking these plugs out and getting the connections here, pretty straightforward, and you just bring them upwards. If you're trying to distance between the unit and the battery, you'll have to talk to us because we may have to get special cables. We do have different sizes. Normally, generally speaking, we do not recommend to break the distance between this unit and the battery. So, battery cabling we spoke about. Let's talk about AC. We have two AC connections here, two plugs that are pretty common with inverters. This one is the grid. You need to get a 4mm cable with a 25 amp circuit breaker, connect it here, and basically this is going to get the grid connected and the inverter can work. If you don't have backup, you don't have to do the backup. Most commonly people will have a backup, so as we discussed with the B3, from here, again, a 4mm lead, 25mm circuit breaker to the dedicated DIMM rail of the backup. Same as the B3, you can look at the webinar there. So lighting and etc. etc. The limitation of the backup is 5 kilowatt, and if you have only one battery, as Fletcher mentioned before, it's going to be 2.5 kilowatt limitation. So we have the battery cable and the AC. Next one is DC connection to the solar panels. There are two MC4s here, connectors. They need to go to a maximum of 3.3 kilowatt per string, so you can do two strings. 15 amps is also the maximum current, and obviously open voltage, you can't do more than 600 volts. And basically the minimum amount of panels, I would say, 5. If you're talking about 60 cells, you need to have a good 200 volts DC to get this inverter waking up easily and work efficiently. So there's not much to talk about the DC, just two strings, 3.3 kilowatt each. As far as the cabling, that's pretty much it. We can now talk about the connections and the monitoring. As I said before, you need to open the hatch here. So it's held by quite a few screws, but quite easy to open. And we remove the hatch. And over here we have the comms. I'll start to talk about the internet one. So connecting the internet must be done with a CAT cable and go to the router, so it doesn't matter how you crimp it. Crimp both ends in the same way, type A or type B. Another popular option is access point. It doesn't cost more than $100 from PB Tech and the likes. So if running the cable all the way to the router is a big job, you're better off to put an access point beside. Also, quite a few properties, especially in rural these days, do not have a router that can take a LAN cable. So once again, you can use this access point, place it next to the inverter, and run the cable between the access point and the inverter. The glands here at the bottom cannot take the RJ45 cable. You need to crimp it after you slide it in. So you slide it in and then you crimp it. And of course you can crimp the other side prior to doing that. So that's the only comment that you should do. So you're not getting yourself frustrated. Crimp it after you slide it through the gland hole. A more technical topic now I'll talk about is the meter. This unit must have the metering installed correctly, otherwise it's not going to work as planned. The purpose of the meter is to measure how much the house is using. So if this is your main switchboard, it needs to be adjacent to it. You need to run the cable, as it's shown here, between the main switchboard and the meter. And basically, maximum is 10 millimeter. If your mains is more than 10 mil, talk to us. We have solutions for 16, 25, and etc. So don't see that as a limitation. We can get you a special one. And the negative, obviously, and the positive, both of them are going through the meter and from here to the rest of the main switchboard. As you can see on top of the meter, one, to start with, this cable is pink because it needs to be shielded. So either buy the pink one or get a normal one and shield it. And we have the RJ45 sockets here. Excuse me. Many cases, there's not enough room in the main switchboard and you can't afford to have this in. So instead of having the RJ45 connections, we can also remove the socket, remove the connections, and go directly into the pins. Number 5 and number 6 are the ones. If you're crimping the cable type A, you should use the white and the orange, as shown here. Or if you're using type B, you should get to number 5 and number 6, green and white. That will make this meter work well. If you have another meter, for example, if it's a hybrid system and you want to measure the production of the other solar system, you need to have another meter that will measure the AC of the other inverter or wind turbine. Also, that meter, to connect between this meter and the next meter, you're going for number 5 and number 6, and you need to call us. So we take you through, reconfigure the meter so the inverter knows which meter is load and which meter in extra production. So pretty much same as the internet. The other end of the cable will go through this glance. You crimp it here, you push it into the socket, and you're done. So we have internet, we have meter, and the last one to talk about is the AUX. AUX are all dry contactors. The unit is already coming with the plugs, and some of them normally open, some of them normally closed, and they basically can activate either smart switches or a smart home or relay to turn on things according to the level of this battery being charged or discharged. So, as a summary, when you're building a new house and you bring in first fix, you're doing the solar panels, you're running the cables down. Really easy to remember. 2 AC cables, 2 communication cables, and 2 DC cables if you're using both strings. Everything goes here to the left-hand side, and you can basically take a dummy bracket if you're not sure about the exact location, but to be honest, there's heaps of room here. You can also go a little bit behind the unit, so if anything, you can go a little bit to the right, so you get it right. If you want, we can send you the demarcation link, and you will see all the details of the demarcation. And if you're not the electrician that does the rest of the house, you should ask a couple of activities to be done by the other electrician, so everything come right. So when the jib is closed and the house is ready to accept the unit, everything is waiting for you in the right spot. Commissioning the unit, last but not least. Commissioning of the unit can be done without internet through this LCD pad, and you basically follow the instructions. You turn, like any other system, you're turning the DC from the solar panels first, turning on the switch of the DC, which has to be an external switch. So external DC switch and external AC switch if you're far away from the main switchboard. Secondly, you're turning the AC, then you're turning on the battery. The system should turn on and have the 60 seconds delay. The system is already coming with the right country program, but you should double check that it's New Zealand and etc. And you can do the entire commissioning through here. However, we do recommend you to download the app of Alpha ESS and identify the system on the app, see that it's online, And as you commission, you can actually see that everything is working fine, and the app will help you to make sure 100% that everything is working fine. And finally, shut down the main and make sure that everything that you put on the backup is actually working. So it should keep on working, like UPS, the lights, sockets, water pump, router, everything else should keep on working in the exact same as you planned. And if that test is passed, then this system will be able to handle power cuts correctly, and it will charge the battery during the power cut as well. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, please, I'm quite happy to answer.
Thanks very much, Roy. I guess we're covering everything too clearly. I will basically now pass you to Nikita, and he will run you through how we size batteries for our clients. Sweet as. Over to you, Nikita.
Hi guys. So I'll be covering how to size the batteries for your clients. So one of the most common questions we get asked is, how do I decide what the correct size is for my client? It's a bit difficult sometimes because you won't know the exact profile, but Alpha does give a great monitoring. So there's always the option of the client starting battery ready. From our experience, roughly 20% of the clients will start battery ready. One of the first criteria we look at is the budget of the client. As discussed, most clients can start battery ready if their budget isn't too high. But out of the batteries discussed today, the most common one is the 5.7 kilowatt hour battery. But sometimes the budget of the customer is flexible, and with that, we'll look at the next two criteria. So the next one is size. The two things we really look at is how much backup is required by the customer and if the grid is stable. I'll give you a couple of examples just to know an idea, but if you want to ask us any questions, feel free to just contact us about your customer. So the first example is an elderly couple. So they live in a place with a stable grid and they're looking to install a relatively small PV system. In this situation, a 2.9 kilowatt hour battery would be acceptable for them. Another situation is a farmer. He has an unstable grid and is looking to have a high draw on his backup. This could be in a situation where he has both a water pump and a sewage pump. So in this situation, we'd recommend 2 of the 2.9, 2 of the 5.7, or 1 of the 10.1 kilowatt hour batteries. This gives you the 5 kilowatt draw. The next criteria we look at is the scientific approach for deciding which battery is the best. Here we've designed a small table. In this table, you can see the annual load of the customer, which is 10,000 kilowatt hours, and a PV system installed for the client, which is 5 kilowatts. This is roughly a good rule of thumb for the client because it's 2 to 1, and these numbers were also chosen because it's easy to multiply them. The next thing we look at is the daytime load. This has to be discussed with the client, but can be found a bit easier by looking what appliances they have. The most common giveaways are if the client has a swimming pool, because the filtration pump, the pump, and the chlorinator will be running during the day, or if any appliance is on a timer. The other option is if the system or the client has a big cylinder, then they can put a timer on their hot water cylinder. The second option is to analyze each case separately. Here you can see at the bottom of these graphs, the 3 options. This was done using Solar Plus, the software we use. The first graph is no battery, and you can see the customer here is 40% self-powered. The second option is the client with one 5.7 kilowatt hour battery. And as you can see here, there's a big jump of 13%. And then the third graph is 2 of the 5.7 kilowatt hour batteries. And you can see the increase here is a lot less than the first 2. This really shows where the value is for the customer. With this analysis, we can run this for free if required. just need to get in contact with us. But as you don't really need to take the scientific approach always, a good rule of thumb is a good start. And as discussed throughout this webinar, the system is easily upgradable. From our experience, a large percentage of our clients will come back asking for more storage after the first or second year. Awesome. So I'll pass it back to you, Fletcher.
All right, thanks very much for that, Nikita. I will go through the questions. We've got 3 of them. The first question's from Aaron. He's saying isolators, question mark. Aaron, could you specify? He's saying, if the battery is outside and far from the switchboard, do isolators need to be installed next to batteries for emergency fire or fault?
So I think he's talking about specifically the battery isolator. I'd assume since the system itself has a battery isolator itself, no, you would not need to. But regarding the DC and the AC, it's just as the standard. So yes, you would have to install that next to the unit.
Well, we also don't recommend to split between the battery and the inverter for any further distance than 10 meters. And even then, we've done it once that we had to order special battery cables because the cables become very thick. You're dealing with 50 volts across. And if they're in the same room, there's a very clear sticker that says that the battery switch is here. But if you took it to the extreme and the batteries for some reason are in a different room than the inverter, then yes, there will be a need for an external battery switch. But I would say that this is a very rare scenario.
Thanks very much, Roy. The final one from Aaron is, what are the color codes on the circles? Basically, I would say the darker of the 2 yellow is the grid. The lighter of the 2 yellow is your solar, and the green is your usage from your batteries. Yep. Hope that covered all the questions for you, Aaron. All right, guys, basically, we'd just like to say thank you very much for coming today and watching the Smile 5 and see what the flexibility is and see what we can do. Please remember that this is an island inverter. It can couple to other AC inverters and a wind turbine, the smart auxiliary contact functions, the monitoring, the value for money, all in one and easy to install. Once again, guys, same as for the B3, we've covered just 2 of the many products. You can see here, this is the T10, which is a 3-phase real-time balancing unit. It's the only one currently on the market that has it. The next is our off-grid solution and our commercial range. So I hope that we have inspired you guys to work with us and at least piqued your interest for our other products. We have another couple of questions that have just popped up. Got another one from Aaron. If the battery is out, we
already answered that one.
Sorry. Would you have a dummy inverter battery that I could set up in my showroom? We could speak to Roy about that. Roy?
So if the battery is outside or the entire unit is outside?
No, sorry, Roy, my mistake. We answered that one, my mistake. It was from Tony Pope saying, do you have a dummy inverter or battery that he could set up in his showroom?
We may be able to organize, not a dummy one, but we may be able to organize, we don't have at the moment dummy batteries, but we may be able to organize a dummy inverter. I'll have to discuss it one-on-one. We'll answer it to you directly, Tony. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Any other questions? Just quick. No, not so yet. All right, guys, basically, you should all receive an email very shortly. If you'd like, it's the feedback form for us. Please let us know what you thought of the webinar today, what you'd like to see in the future, if you would like any more detailed information in regards to the things we have covered. And on the back of that, if you would like a recording of the original webinar for the B3 retrofit, and if you would like a recording of today's webinar. Thank you very much from myself, Nikita, and Roy. We look forward to working with you. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.